On the subject of watercolor, there's a few more things that you should know. Is There are a few tools that you're going to need. The first thing is something to put water in. Now, you can use something, any kind of cup, plastic or normal cup that you can find, or if you want to work on different locations, I suggest that you get an extendable cup like this that you can easily pack up and move. This is from Pastel. It's actually a very good cup that you can buy, but if you have a pet store near you, usually pet stores have things like this, even maybe even with easy better price, but this is actually not that expensive. So if you want to go around and using a cup that which you do need for water and watercolor, you're going to have to buy something like this, or you can use any cup that you have. Next are brushes. Brushes are very important in any type of painting. So for watercolor, mainly people use these circular shape watercolor brushes. These are the most common ones that most people use. Now, when you want to buy these, the more natural form of like this is this is like plastic base, and it's not exactly a natural form of hair. So the more natural it is, the better it can absorb water and you can use them. So be careful whenever you're buying a brush, what type of hair it's used on it. And the shape doesn't matter, it depends on what style you want to use. You can use a circular form like this. I'm not exactly sure what we call this, but a tip like this one, or even the type of brushes they use in oil painting, you can use those. It depends on what type of form, shape you want to make out. So it doesn't matter, whichever you feel more comfortable, use that. And the last type of brush that you can use is what we call water brush. Water brushes are, as you can see, they have a small canteen that you can pour water in, and then you can use it whenever and wherever you like, especially if you want to draw outside or somewhere that you're not you have to move around a lot. This is actually very good that you can push and water comes out from the head and you can easily work with. There are different sizes from small to medium and bigger forms and sizes of the brush. They're actually pretty good. Some people don't like them, but it depends on what you want, and they're not that expensive, so you can easily buy them. And if the brush, they actually last a long time. You don't have to worry you don't need to replace them that often. So these are different types of options that you can use, and the sizes. The sizes depends on what sizes of canvas that you use, what kind of size of paper that you use. Now, usually it's better to have one or two, a small size, a medium size, and this is close to a big size. The 12 is actually close to big. There are bigger sizes than this, but usually get a small, medium, and large if you're not getting a set and you want to get separate brushes. Now, the next medium that I want to talk about is watercolor pencils. Now, this is actually a very cool type of medium that you can use. Now, for people that love the precision in color pencil but don't want the hassle of working hours and hours and days on a subject, but they love the precision, I suggest that you go towards watercolor pencils, because they have the abstract form of watercolor, but at the same time the close to the precision to normal color pencils. Now, the brand that I have here is Stettler. It's a German brand that is actually pretty good. I haven't seen lots of people talk about this brand. It's a very good one. Now, there are many more brands that are cheaper and many more brands that are very expensive. Like if you want to get the top grade brands, usually you have to buy Caran d'Ache or Faber-Castell. I believe Prismacolor has one too. I never used it. I'm not sure if it's good or not, but I've used this one. It's actually very good and it's pretty budget friendly, so it's not that expensive. Now this is a 36. Now the difference between using watercolor and difference between using watercolor and watercolor pencil is in watercolor you can easily mix the colors together, but in watercolor pencil you can mix, but it's much more difficult. That's why I suggest that if you want to use watercolor pencil, completely opposite to what I said about color pencils, get the biggest pack that you can. The bigger the pack, the easier it is for you to get different types of mixture, because mixing color pencils is a little bit hard, because you either have to do it on a different paper and you don't know exactly if it's going to be the way you want, or you have to do it in layers, and usually if you do it in layers, depending on the paper that you use, it might not come out the way that you want. So I suggest that you get a bigger pack. The 36 that I got here isn't enough in most cases, and as you can see, the quality of the pencils are actually pretty good and pretty nice. Of course, I don't know the light fastness of this, so don't quote me on that. I don't know how it works, how good it is. I know Caran d'Ache and Faber-Castell have perfect light fastness in most of their colors, so if that's something that is important to you, so you can use those. But if you want something budget friendly to start out with, to practice with, this is a brand that I would suggest you use. One medium that I forgot to mention at the beginning was markers. Now, the reason that I didn't mention markers at the beginning was because this is not a medium for everyone. There's a couple of problems with it. The first one is that if you want to draw something artistic with this, with different types of shapes, colors, and formats, and gradients, and stuff like that, you usually need a large set. Now this is, I believe, a 40, set that I have, and the problem with is 40 is not always enough. Usually you need at least like 120 of markers to do almost most things that you want. So that's the first problem that you can see with markers. The other problem is that it's usually, depending on what you get, can be an expensive medium. Now, the problem is that these will dry. Eventually, these will dry, and you have to throw them out in most cases. And then, unless you have some of those good brands that you can fill it up again. But if you get something cheap like these you have to use for a while, and after a while they'll dry up and you can't use them. It's a very beautiful medium, but there's another aspect of it that you have to be careful. Another problem that you can see with markers is that they are not color fast. What that means is after a while the colors will fade. They will fade, especially if you put them outside, like you want to put it on the wall or something like that. It will fade eventually quite much faster than many other mediums. So that's a thing that you have to be worried about, and the problem with markers. But if you like markers, you love how they look, especially if you're an architect, markers are usually used by architects. They're a great option for them because it's fast, it's easy, you can get different shapes and textures out of them, so they're a very decent medium to use by architects. But unless you want to use some type of monotone drawing, like just using gray or blue gray or warm gray, then I don't suggest that it's for everyone. But if you want to buy markers, I suggest that you get Ohuhu. Ohuhu is quite one of the best because of its price point and because you can get it in most locations. I can't, but where I am right now, but in most countries in Europe and North America, you can easily buy them, and the price point isn't quite bad. So you can easily get 120 markers for a good price. So if you want to do that, you can buy Ohuhu. There is a better brand. What was it? Forgot the name. I'll put the I'll put the picture on screen. The brand that you can find, but that's quite expensive. The small pack is like, I don't know, almost 200 bucks, so it's not very economic. So if you like markers, beware of these issues that it has. Alright, the last medium that I'm going to talk about is about pastels. Now there are different types of pastels. There's oil pastels that work like crayons, and there are soft pastels, or chalk pastels sometimes you can call them, that are used usually for different aspects, like drawing an abstract for design or an environment. But if you want to go into details, usually the oil pastels are more convenient and the better way to go. Now, this is a generic brand that I've been using for years now. I didn't like pastels in the past, but in the past few months I've understood that they have quite a bit of potential that you can use. Now, as you can see, these are very chalky, like the chalks that you can see at schools. Just even with moving it, you can see how chalky it is on my fingers, and they break easily, so you have to be very careful how to use them, but they're actually pretty good, and there are quite a lot of potentials that you can use. But if it's not something that you like to get your hands dirty with, so I don't suggest you go near it. But it's actually a good medium that I've discovered it quite recently. There are many brands that you can use, and I don't see any difference between the bigger ones. It mostly depends on what type you want to use. The big difference is the chalkiness or the oil format that you like. Which one you like, you have to use this, and usually they're not that expensive. You can easily buy them for a couple of bucks. Especially start with something simpler and cheaper, and then you can buy better brands. Like there's like Caran d'Ache that is, I think, a few $100 that you can buy from. I don't suggest those, especially not at the beginning. Now, after talking about different types of mediums that you can use, there are a few things that you should have, especially if you want to get into color-based designs and drawings. The first thing is something that we call fixative. Fixative is used whenever you finish the drawing and you want to fix the colors to stay on your canvas for years and years. Now, if you want to buy a fixative, that's good. They're not that expensive. You can buy them almost everywhere. But if you don't have a fixative whenever you need it, the next option is use a hairspray. Now, alright, so as I was saying, now hairspray is actually very good for you to make your colors stick on your canvas for almost ever, unless you put it in the sun, and then other than that it's going to be fine. Now, how to use it: you have to bring it to a distance about 30 centimeters or about 15 inches, and then start spraying. And remember, go outside, go somewhere that there's air and fresh air, because this thing makes a lot of gas. It comes out really hard, so be careful not to breathe it in. So spray it in a motion from up to down with about 30 or 40 centimeters. Don't go too close because it will oil up your canvas and destroy it, and if you're too far, it won't have much effect. So about 30 centimeters or about 15 inches is good enough, and start from top to bottom, go to a motion and then go back, and then that's enough. The 2 huffs and puffs from up to down is good, and then your colors will stay on your canvas and you won't have to worry about them going anywhere. Now, you can use this with black and white arts too. Any type of I've never used it on acrylic or oil base, but for color pencil I've used it. Watercolor, black and white with pencils, they're all perfect with this. But I've never, even with pastel it's perfect with this one. But I've never used it on oil or acrylic, so use that with caution. Now, the last but definitely not least item that I'm going to talk about is paper. Now, uh, depending on what you want to do, there are different types of papers that you can buy. Now, like for example, if you prefer to go into color pencils, the paper that most people suggest is Bristol board. Bristol board is actually suggested by many professionals to be one of the best papers that you can use. Now, there are different types of Bristol boards. You have to be careful. For color pencils, you have to use something that has a little bit teeth on it, something that can grasp and you can layer the colors on together to make it complete. Or you can get cotton paper for both your color pencils and your watercolor. Now, there are different types of things that you can do. You can use something. You can use a smaller size like this, or you can use something bigger like this. Now, at the beginning, I suggest that you buy some cheap paper that you're not going to be worried about, because watercolor and paper, especially the cotton ones, are actually very expensive, so be careful. Now, there are many brands out there that you can use for paper, like Honolulu is said that it's lots of people said that is one of the best, but the most important thing that is like Archie is another brand that everyone loves, but the problem is that because they're 100% cotton and they're perfect, they're very expensive. So first, use something inexpensive like this. I bought this complete notebook for watercolor with I think like $5-6, so it's very cheap. Or you can find a brand that is a watercolor based brand and it's not that expensive. Now, this is, I think, an Iranian mark watercolorist. I'm not sure that you can find it everywhere. If you can, let me know in the comments. But there's two types. There's the big size and there's the travel book size, and each one has 20 sheets. It's white paper, 100% cotton, and 300 grams. And this is 19 by 19. This is 27 by 18 centimeters. So I'm going to open this one here. Let me get to it. These are brand new. I haven't used them. I'm not going. So there are different types of paper, cotton paper, that you can get for watercolor. Now, these are just two of them. There's a third one as well. So these two are, the first one is cold press. There's warm press, cold press, and this one, something like this, is rough. So the warm press is usually very good for watercolor, especially if you prefer a smooth surface. That is perfect for people that prefer that. So cold press has some teeth like this. Now, I'm not sure exactly if you can see the texture, but as I'm touching it, it has a very rough texture. Now, I'm not sure that if it's perfect for watercolor. This is a perfect paper for watercolor. It's 100% cotton, and it's actually very texture formatted. I can easily touch it, but be careful that your fingers aren't. This is cotton paper is very sensitive. You have to be careful how to use it. And remember, always get acid-free paper. Acid-free paper is perfect for watercolor. Now, there's a rough texture that usually, as you can see on it's exactly what you can see here. It's a very rough form and shape, and it's harder to work on. So I don't suggest for beginners to use this unless you're a professional, then you know what you're doing. But for someone that's a beginner, I suggest warm or cold press is actually a better option for you to use. So remember, paper is actually one of the most important items. Even if you get a normal brand for your medium, get the best paper, especially when you want to draw something perfect. You want to let everyone see. You want to put it on your wall or door or whatever you like. So be careful what kind of paper you're using. It's actually a very important subject and item that you should be careful what you're using for. And one other thing that you can use, if you don't want to get a booklet like this, you can get just piece of papers. You can get papers separately. Many companies sell their sheets separately. Now this is just a normal one. This is not cotton paper. I use these mostly for practice. And then what you do with these is get a board. Get a board like this. Now it doesn't have to be this big. This one's big. It's quite big. You can get a smaller one. And then, now this doesn't matter if you want to use watercolor on it, if you want to use colored pencil, especially if you want to move around. You don't have a single space that you want to work all the time. This is a perfect thing that you can do. You can put your canvas on a board and you can move it around. You can go in front of the TV. You can work in your workstation, wherever it is. And you can use simple tape. Simple paper-based tapes like this. You can use, and you can glue it, not exactly glue it, but tape it to the board, and you can move it around whenever you want. And don't worry about it. These tapes are actually not that tough. You can get basic watercolor tapes. Those are good, but I haven't seen any big difference between them. So if you have these tapes around, these are good enough. So be careful. So choose whatever format suits you better. Choose whatever you like and then just start drawing. Draw whatever you like, whenever you like. Do it as a hobby, and maybe in the future you want to expand it into other things, then that's good enough too. That's my 2 cents for different types of options, different types of mediums. Now it depends on what you want to do and what you like. Choose one of these mediums and start working and practicing and doing creative stuff with it, so you can get a complete understanding about any of these mediums that you might like. Alright, so if you have any comments, any suggestions, let me know on this video, and you can check out my other videos and see what you like. And I would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to the channel. It'll help me out a lot. So, see you guys in the next video.